Good morning, comrades. You are listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade with Jeff and Robert on the show. This is your number one labor podcast in New Orleans, your number one socialist podcast in New Orleans, your number one radio show for all your information about all the stuff that's really going on in the world. Robert, what did I miss?
With the show?
Yeah.
Nothing. It's not like we don't have a Substack. We're not leaving the left. And I think that's everything people need to know about the show. You usually ask me what
we're not getting the bag, unfortunately.
No, we're not. That's quite all right. We have not collected the bag. Things I have going on. I'm currently playing Diablo 4. It is good again because they just took all the best parts of Diablo 3, so that's a good game. Also, I've really been into Love is Blind Habibi. I've been watching that.
Okay.
They're doing the Palestinian guy, Mohammed, real dirty because they don't want to talk about his backstory on Netflix, like where he's from.
That's the one. This is in DC, right?
What's that?
Is this in DC? Or where's
no, Love is Blind is all Arabs, and it's in. I think it's in. Well, at least like the little resort part where they have to actually hang out with each other in the flesh is in Lebanon.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I think the pod part is shot in like UAE. I think. Don't put my hand on the Holy Quran for that. I don't know. And I've been watching it. They've been doing Muhammad dirty because they give you the backstory of like everybody, and then but they've been like, oh yeah, here's Muhammad. He's nice, and it's like they don't want to say where he's from because he's from Palestine. Absolutely, like brother, like if you're on Love is Blind Habibi, like you can't lose. Like the worst. This is so like objective, but I mean not objective, but this is so like subjective. I guess I'm subjecting these poor women to my to my cis het gaze, the male gaze. But like you cannot, bruh, like the worst. The worst, I'm using air quotes, like the worst, like you're going in there blind, you're coming out a winner every time. Like it doesn't matter. Like the worst in air quotes looking girl is just like, I would say she's like a LA 5, which is really high. Like an LA 5's high. She would be like a Midwest 9.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like and then like the one with the who like is probably the worst person is she just looks kind of like Jessica Rabbit from Wish. And she is like, now I'm like getting all these women in like my social media, like on TikTok really with their own person. Cause they're all like, I'm in like, what do you do for a living? And there's, it's just like, I'm an Instagram, TikTok influencer / collaborator of technology. Like, and they've all got jobs like that. Mm-hmm. But then like your boy, and then it's like the same old mess where it's just like, oh, Habibi, I love you. Like, oh my God, let's get married. And so the, I mean, this happens on the other ones too. It's not like anything specific because it's the Arab version. It's just like, she's like, I have a Tupperware career. I'm just picking stuff out. You know what I mean? Like I have a stay-at-home, shoelace business where I make shoelaces and I sell them online, and that usually takes up 1 day a week. And he's like, no, you got to be home. No, He's like, no, that cannot stand in my home. That's you have disrespected me with your wishes and desires. And that's not all of them, but it's like, they're picking the worst people. Like Muhammad from Palestine, he got with this woman. So I don't know how it ends yet because I've only watched like 5 episodes. I know we're like deep into it, but he got with this woman, Safa, who's just like, she looks like a news presenter from like CNN or like Al Jazeera or something. Like she's just got that like authoritative look, like a crystal ball, but like more authoritative and brown and wavy haired. So like that, she's got like an authoritative face. She's smart. She's funny. She's got stuff going on. And poor Muhammad's just like, she's like, yeah, she's like, yeah, I've got a career that takes me to Dubai and Iraq and I do this and I do that. And he's like, well, you'll be gone a lot, but we'll make it work. Like if I have to come with you or like whatever, like it's fine. Like we'll make it work. Like I've got people who can handle my business. And she's like, well, I also like, he's like, yeah, I just prefer, he's like, I'm from Palestine. I just prefer that you have a pulse. Like that's kind of my red line. Like that's a must have. Just like, have you not been murdered by Israel? Than like your wife material. So that rules. Like it's such a good show because it's like trashy and cold. Like there's very few things out there that are like trashy because this is super trashy, and it's also very cultural. Like you learn stuff about like different cultures. So like, and you get to see like the most beautiful people on earth, whether you're like whether you're into guys or gals. Like, yeah, it's great. I'm a big fan.
The thing I love about like trashy reality television just generally is that you just get to see people like normal people. I mean, obviously like there's the filter of the producers or whatever, but like when they get into these fights or whatever, like they're getting in them fights and like this is how people act, I don't know.
There's just like one like my favorite is this this woman named Dunya. Like she has like physically she's just like hard to look at. Like she's so hot. And then her face is like really, she's only 24. So her face is like really youthful. And she has like the little like nervous giggle. But then you see stuff like she'll say, she's like, oh, are they looking at my man? Cause they're all meeting and mingling. She's like, oh, she's like, Allah help them. She's like, Allah help them if they try to come out. I'm like, I know this woman. Like, she's they really like you. Yeah. Like BPD queens be everywhere. So it's like, yeah, I know them. But yeah, so she's the best. But yeah, I never thought I'd be watching a dating reality show, but it's just nice when gives you a little something extra. That's good. I'm also into the Asmongold drama. If you want if you want to talk about that, we're gonna have to like not go. If you want to spend some time on that, we're gonna have to go. I've already kind of thought we'd have to go a little bit of like what this is to our normie like
we would need to explain like who is Asmongold.
Not really a who, more of a what. Like what does he do? Why is he popular? Why am I getting Arabic language on my YouTube algorithm now? I'm getting like Middle Eastern Eye and Al Jazeera cutting videos about this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, for the grace of God, go I. Like, please don't let me mess up enough that like Al Jazeera is doing a think piece on me. And it's not about me winning the Nobel Prize. It's about me being a terrible human. Like
if this show ended up on Al Jazeera for that reason, at least we would have gotten to a level of notoriety where people care. We should not be saying Nazi stuff on this show. I'm just saying. I'm against crazy. That. Personally, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm against saying like basically otherizing people and comparing them to like literal like roaches and stuff. Right? That's what he was doing. So first off, who's Asmongold?
So he's a guy who plays, and I'm not even being facetious. He plays World of Warcraft in his parents' attic. Over the internet, and people watch him play video games and they watch him talk about video games, and he's a millionaire from doing this. And
he like lives in squalor. He like lives in like
but he is a hoarder, but that's like not. We can talk. I mean, you can go on that. I believe me. My feed is just filled with like Muslim men from the UK, just like being like, this guy's a bum. This man's a waste. They were like, this man's a waste man. Look how he live. Look how he live, blood. Look how he live, fam. He's like, he does not have the light of Allah, fam. That's
Okay.
my algorithm right now. It's just
Uh,
those type of guys you would find in Speaker's Corner. Or
well, he like has like the most disgusting kind of like living conditions you can possibly imagine, right? But he's a rich guy. But anyway, that's not the point, I
I mean,
guess.
yeah. I kind of want to go in, like, if we're spend a little bit of time on this, like what he said, and then how what he said and the kind of person he is his exact. This is a microcosm of like when I'm telling the listeners of Good Morning Comrade, especially the
Talking
ones
to
that are
you,
listening over
talking
the
to
air,
you,
and
listeners.
yeah, over the air on WHIV, of why I hate liberals. Now, this guy wouldn't call himself a liberal, but he is. At the end of the day, like, he's a liberal. Even if he votes for Donald Trump, which he said he had before, he's still a liberal because he's like, yeah, I support every revolutionary movement except the one that's happening right now. If you ask it, because okay, so let's just talk about the rant. So he went on this rant, and this is pretty much a day after the collective the world, have seen Palestinian people immolated, burned to death in hospital triage tents,
Yeah.
live on video. We've seen
Horrible,
this.
horrific stuff. Like
And
really horrific stuff.
he went on to describe how much he does not care. Like his words were, I could care less about that. What happens to them? They come from an inferior culture.
Yeah.
And I'm like, first of all, my guy, to live in the state of Texas, let's don't even talk about your hoarder tendencies, because that's an actual like mental health issue. I want to leave that alone.
It's
But
not a
to
culture.
lay your head down every night in the state of Texas and then call somebody's culture inferior is crazy work, dude. Like that's so his whole thing was Palestinians deserve to be burned alive. They deserve to be bombs dropped on their head. They deserve to be genocided because they're not cool with gay people. Which no, that's not it. So he went on this whole rant of conflating Islam with anti-gay sentiment, and how because the people who live there are Islamic, they deserve what they get. And some of our audience will understand this, he's a very old first wave Reddit atheist.
Oh yeah.
I was that guy too. Now, I wasn't saying people need to be burned to death. I wasn't saying I'm good with genocide, but I was an old Reddit atheist myself. And
Richard Dawkins was your Jesus.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like listening to the Atheist Experience, which is a call-in show that's out of Austin, Texas. Richard Dawkins, a lot
Harris.
of Christopher Hitchens. Yeah.
And also Russell Brand. We could talk about him later too.
Yeah. And so you might be saying to yourself, so the thing I guess I want to get across is that this is how a lot of people in America think. And this isn't just some crazy attic dweller, some crazy video game attic dweller who thinks like this. A lot of our friends and neighbors and a lot of our good, quote unquote, good liberals think like this. We see it in our friend circles all the time with the stuff these people post. Once a week, I'm telling somebody in my friend circle, hey man, take that Islamophobic stuff down, because one, you're wrong and this is why, and two, it's just what you're posting is just gross. So we need to come to reckon with that. And then also I wanted to point out, I think even more important is that people like this, I mean, we all are to a certain degree, but people like this are living in Plato's cave because they cannot see anything from anybody else's perspective. And what I mean by that is not even like empathizing, being like, oh, you wouldn't feel that way if your family was burned. No, let's just take let's take that logic of an inferior culture to its logical conclusion. So you're saying these people deserve to die. And because they voted for Hamas, or I mean, they didn't. We can go. I don't want to go into that, but you're saying these people from an inferior culture because of their barbarism. Okay, if I had him in front of me, or I've had this conversation with people about what cultures are, American exceptionalism and inferior cultures, I say, okay, we won't even talk about pre-revolutionary colonial Britain, America. Let's say July 4th, 1776, Declaration of Independence. Pick a random day from July 4th, 1776, between then and what's the date today? It's Wednesday when we're recording this. So it's October 16th. So October 16th, 2024. Okay. Take a rant and pick any day you want there. I will find you Western savagery. I will find you American barbarism, and I will not have to look hard. I mean, we can start with Native American genocide. We can go to Middle Passage, transatlantic slave trade. We can talk about the annexing of Mexico. We can talk about
Hawaii,
Spanish American War. We can talk about Hawaii. Yeah, exactly. We could talk about how the Philippines, how we treat Haiti at Vietnam. One time. Vietnam, Louverture, the leader of the Haitian Revolution, was considered by Andrew Jackson to be the most dangerous man alive because he was afraid that the idea that slaves could emancipate themselves would spread to America. We could talk about the Civil War. We could talk about every day. We can find savagery and barbarism. So by that logic, when somebody comes along with more power than us, we deserve to burn to death. We deserve to die. That's when you follow that logic all the way through.
For one, I don't agree with that logic.
You don't? I mean, I see what you're saying. You don't agree with but
that is the logic. I think that's a little.
That's the logic, and that's that American nonsense, that American Plato's cave, because you can't even imagine a force. A streamer we like, Hassan Piker, talks about you can't even talk about Israel Palestine in terms of armies. You have to talk about them in terms of what if an alien force with advanced death ray technology invaded America. That's the only thing that would have any kind of parallel to how the Palestinians are being genocided. It's the only thing. So you have to imagine that. So if you want to live in a world where you're responsible for the actions of somebody in the past, of choices you didn't make because you voted for somebody. We had George Bush as president twice. We had Donald Trump once. This is just in our lifetime, people. We don't even have to go back that far. So if you really think you live in a superior culture, and that's why all these other inferior cultures need to be eradicated, when and if this empire falls, we don't even have to do a hypothetical. We don't even have to do a hypothetical. And this is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people in our circle, a lot of listeners, a lot of liberals. Forget a hypothetical, we're no longer top of the food chain in the game of empire. When 9/11/2, Electric Boogaloo, when we get the blowback from this, which will happen, it will happen. I don't know if it'll happen in 6 months, a year, 10 years, 15 years. It will happen. You can't say anything. Like, you can't be like, oh, that was so. Why did they do that? Because the same type of people who are talking about people's inferior culture and why they need to burn to death and die are the same type of people when, again, a terrorist attack happens or whatever. It's just like what happened in Israel on October 7th. They're going to throw up their hands and go, how could this have happened? They're like, this is not normal. What have we read? On October 6th, it was a sunny day.
Unprovoked, It completely deconceptualized the 100 years, 90 years or whatever of Zionism and apartheid that have been manifesting and really creating these conditions. Not largely, like created by the West, by the United States, and by the United Kingdom. I mean, that's what like paved the road for the conditions that currently exist in Palestine. And now when you have again, I don't want to like undersell the the uprising in on October 7th was violent, and the response but it was necessarily a response to the years and years of violence and colonialism that have been taking place in Palestine, and if anything, that is blowback for that. I'm not excusing it, but it's like one of those things that happens.
I mean, if you don't,
that is a necessary result of policy that the Israeli government, backed by the West, has been pushing for generations.
Yeah, and we can even go. I brought up 9/11. We can talk about 9. I mean, we can go back to 9/11.
There's a context for that. That didn't come out of like a bolt from the blue either.
It's the same. It's the same way. And what was the thing when people started reading his letters, Osama bin Laden's letters on TikTok? There was some tweet that was just like, I can't remember who it was, where it's like, you don't have to hand it to Osama bin Laden. You don't have to hand it to Al Qaeda. And it's like, you don't. It's terrible, awful, but.
Like the drill tweet.
But the same people who will tell you like, oh, you got to take that down, you can't read it, will be the same people like, oh, you should read Mein Kampf for its historical value. And what I'm getting to is, if you don't believe me, read the man's writings. Read Osama bin Laden's writings. He'll tell you 9/11 was because of Palestine. Straight up. Like, there's no mystery. There's no, oh, they hate our freedoms. There's no. Y'all are we are the fuel that allows Israel to murder those people. Mm-hmm. So therefore we are doing this. That's what happened. Mm-hmm. And just the ignorance of history. And I mean, look at what's happening now. We have so much, we've given that country so much technology. We're sending over THAAD anti-missile systems. And now, God, I went on this rant 2 weeks ago about Dune. So what are they doing now to defeat all that? They're flying low and slow drones, and they're getting through the eye. The slow blade is penetrating the shield. And it's like, if you think that can't come to us, if you think that so you can sit there in Austin, Texas, where he's from, Asmongold, and talk greasy, and you can be in the State Department and tell lies every day and think that you cannot be touched, think that we cannot be touched here in America, you're out of your mind. If you're older than, it's 2001, 2011, right? 9/11. What am I saying? If you're older than 9/11, you already know this is true. What I'm saying is true. So why don't we just chill with all that? Mm. And it's like
trying to figure out a solution.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I can tell you what, like, whatever you don't like about quote unquote Arabic culture or whatever racist nonsense you want to put up, I will find you a parallel to American culture. I will find you that real quick. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's the audacity for me, dog. It's just so it makes it gross to think that you're gonna sit there playing World of Warcraft for 12 hours a day and talk greasy about a whole group of people. Literally, you'll watch them get burned to death, and you're like, that's cool because I don't know, because they don't have a pride parade in the streets of Gaza when they don't have any streets.
Yeah. He was banned from Twitch, which that's not.
It's a hard 14 days though. No, I mean 14 days to a streamer, it's not gonna hurt him, but for an average streamer, 2 weeks can kill you. Like not making content. But he did make an apology.
He did.
He did an apology video. It's actually really good. Like as internet apologies go, like it felt sincere.
I'm sorry I said all the Nazi stuff.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even like, I'm sorry you felt that way. He was like, he's like, I watched it, and he's like, that's a monster. He's like, I did that. He wasn't like, oh, I don't even know what happened. He's like, no, I did that. It was terrible. I'm gonna try not to do it again. And
I'm trying not to do it again. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, no, I mean, that's all you can do. And then he's like, all the people who've reached out to me and been like, hey man, like what's going on? Like you talking real crazy. He's like, thanks a lot. I really appreciated this. He's like, my life is a mess. And I need this enforced vacation. He's like, I need it to get my mind right. And I'm like, fair enough, dog. Like that's good enough for me. And hopefully he does well. But it's just that kind of I guess why I hit on it so hard, why I just came out of the gate firing about it, because I've heard that being a black man, I've heard that all my life, is that, it's the thing of, it's like, oh, if the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen, your people would still be in Africa with bones in their noses. Like, What are you talking about? You are so ignorant of history and how much the West has just absolutely raped the
Rest
world.
of the world, yeah.
It's like you have no idea what you're talking about. And so it's that's I don't know. I mean, everybody's biased, and I know the things that I ride hard about are things that because I've had I've been on the end of stuff, and I've been called a sand N-word more, at least 10 times in my life, where people have no idea they have no idea what race or culture or ethnicity I am. But they were quick, especially after 9/11, they were quick to throw that out. If I wasn't if I got into a beef with somebody and I wasn't in my Marine Corps uniform, they were quick to go to that. So I have empathy for people who are just like, who have to go through that every single day, even before 9/11. And yeah, it's gross. It's gross, and I'm glad that he's corrected himself. But I just feel like that is a point of view that so many Americans, especially American liberals, who would call themselves enlightened liberals, share. And you don't have to go to a guy who's greasy sitting in his mom's basement to get this. You can turn on HBO and watch Real Time with Bill Maher. Bill Maher went off on Chappell Roan. Like Chappell Roan even knows who he is, for being pro-Palestine. You can listen to you said his name before. Harris?
Sam Harris.
Sam Harris talk about, Islam is the motherlode of bad ideas and all this foolishness that is going to get people hurt and get people killed. So you don't have to reach out. This isn't coming from a weird corner of the internet that we only know from. Yeah. It's just poked its head out from a different corner that got picked up on. And I mean, I'm really proud of the people, that how quick he got snapped on, especially on Twitter. Do you know how bad now X how terrible things you have to say to get people to like, hey dog, you sound like a Nazi on X.
Mean, if you say cisgender, you might get clapped, but if you say like actual Nazi apologia or talking points, you'll get in trouble.
Yeah. No, for sure. So I wish him well, and I hope that he gets his act together. He seems like he's on the way. But yeah, this is just a sentiment that's just shared by so many people that think they're just like somehow morally in the right. I don't know. I have beef personally. I have beefs with everybody because I'm not religious. I'm an atheist myself, but it's like, if you want to make religious claims, I will, like now you're making a claim. That's something that needs to be backed up with evidence. But if you're like, hey, I don't care what religion you are, like, my parents are Jewish. If you're like, hey, this is a tradition and I do believe in it, but it's, at the end of the day, this brings order and security to my life. And it gives me like a handbook of the things like to do and what not to do. Yeah. I'd be like, yeah, sounds good. That sounds like something you would buy from Tony Robbins or any other self-help. So go for it, man. Like I love it. But just to sit here out of hand and just say a whole culture of people are inhuman or subhuman that don't even, and he's got that America brain of just like all the Middle East is just this like amorphous blob to where if you steal a piece of penny candy and cut your hand off, like they think it's Aladdin. They think it's the first scene of Robin Hood and Men in Thieves, Robin Hood, with Kevin Costner, when he meets Aziz or whatever. They think it's that, and it's just like, no, dog, it's not. Like, it's, I don't know, it's gross. I get it from all sides, like especially online, like. But
so what you're saying is that you respect Russell Brand's newly found finding of religion.
He's a scumbag. He would turn himself in for sexual assault if he did really find Jesus.
Yeah. Oh my God, that one was wild. No, I think you're right. I mean, obviously, like what he went out and what he went and said. Obviously, he's was saying what a lot of people in America actually think all the time. Absolutely. And like that's like sort of a position because the sort of like overwhelming sort of like hatred towards Muslims and Palestinians in this country is just like profound. It's prevailing, even though we are seeing more of a pushback against it at the same time. And like, again, it is indicative when you see Twitch or when you see, multiple streamers coming out and being like, Asmongold, you got to chill out, bruh. What are you saying? And then he has to, he feels compelled, whether he means it or not. He comes out and he feels compelled that he has to apologize, that, even to save his career, even if it's disingenuous. Like that again is, we talk about it all the time on this show. The tide is shifting, at least on a cultural front and a policy front. I mean, obviously when you come to, the Harris campaign and Joe Biden and the Democrats, there's not a lot of hope for there. Because our politics in the country are so completely diseased. But there is at least, I mean, obviously you can't turn away from that, from the politics of it all, because that's where the power is expressed. But in the meantime, seeing that there is a change and there's a potential moment to seize on that change and push towards actual, pushing for an embargo on Israel and forcing that to happen. Like the time politically, it doesn't seem right, but you know what? Movement wise, you can't be waiting for the political winds to be right all the time. You know what I mean? You just can't.
No, exactly.
You need to pressure whoever it is that's in power, because that's just what it's going to be. And I'm not even getting involved in the, we've already had the conversation about Harris, Trump, Green Party, whatever, 100 times on this show.
I'm over it. I'm in the weirdest spot that I've ever.
Yeah.
been in.
But real quick,
quick,
this is WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3 is Good Morning Comrade. Go ahead, Robert.
I was going to say where I don't want Harris to lose, but I don't care if she wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's like one of those sorts of things. And this is, and again, just to kind of get into it one last time, like I see a lot of people going out there and saying that, like, oh, you know what, the Democrats will like learn a lesson or something like that. They lose to Trump. That never ever happens. It didn't happen with Reagan. It didn't happen with Bush. It didn't happen with Bush. It didn't happen with Trump. And it's never going to happen ever. Stop saying that. Stop thinking that. If the Democrats lose, it's always worse. But like, if the Democrats win, it's also bad. I don't know.
They just get to go in their second favorite position, which is to be the fake opposition party.
Yeah. So
they love that. They love that stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, looking forward, it's really kind of exciting just to sort of see what kind of organizing is taking place and what has been happening, the fights for the pushback. And even again, people have been giving, people like AOC a lot of shit. Definitely, like Rashida Tlaib is leading the way on this, as far as like political figures, Cori Bush, etc. But even like AOC is like literally out there, and this is not the first time she called it a genocide, but in a tweet the other day, she did call it a genocide as well. I saw a lot of people were being like, oh, why are you defending the Harris campaign or whatever? It's like, stop.
Yeah, because there's nowhere else to go. That's
what
do you want to do?
But there is a political tide that is shifting, and that's something that's like, that is, we can't be cutting each other down while we're trying to fight the dragon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's a good question though. I don't want to steal your because I know you want to talk about.
I don't know. Go ahead.
But it's like, when do we? That's a good question. This is a real. When do we? I don't know. Like, what are our red lines as far as leftists? Like, what are our standards to be like, I can't mess with you because it's just too far. Like for me, the genocide is it. And I'm not saying anybody like you're a bad person because you're still doing organizing during the thing. But for me, I'm just like, I'm out. Like I can't do this. So like the idea of coming together, I get that. I know what you're saying. We're not going to have 100% agreement with liberals on everything. But at what point are we like, oh no, they're using us
now? So, okay, let me just reframe it a little bit. One of the things that I keep looking at that like a lot of leftists love to say is that like, oh, we can use this leverage. This was huge on Force the Vote, right? Remember Force the Vote?
Yeah.
Like we can use this leverage that we have to force a floor vote for Medicare for all, like based on around the idea that like, you know, it was close between Democrats and Republicans, and you know maybe that was maybe that was something that was real, but like the leverage, the quote unquote leverage that people are talking about isn't leverage at all, because if a floor vote for Medicare for all did happen or whatever, like it's gonna be a L no matter what.
But
So,
what is
like,
that? But
so
what's the worst case scenario of that L? I don't understand. Like what value was lost
the
with
value
that L?
of it, I guess, because you get a recorded L on Medicare for all, and
Okay.
then you have kind of a issue. I mean, and again, you can disagree, but like
No, I really don't know. I just it's like
my
what's the
take
value
on
proposition?
that, generally, on that kind of approach, and it's less about the specifics in this situation and more about the sort of like general idea that like leftists in this country, and maybe it's not just this country, but you see it the most here, like leftists in this country tend to like say like we have all of this leverage to do something. Like, oh, we can vote for Jill Stein or whatever. We can use our leverage to punish the Democrats. And like, that ain't no leverage for nothing. Jill Stein ain't gonna win. The Democrats don't care if they lose, or they would,
Yeah.
you know, if they
You want
do.
it better than they. You want it more than they do.
Yeah, and so like this quote unquote leverage that you keep talking about you have isn't leverage. It's just like you're just sort of like doing something that makes you feel good at the end of the day, and it's not about like an actual cold analysis of the situation and potential outcomes. That's my take on it.
No, I get that. It's
And
just that
it's kind of a mean take, but like, you know, it's just the way I see it. I mean, it's just the way it is.
No, I agree with you. So again, but that doesn't answer my question. At what point? So at what point are they just like, oh, we're taking advantage of you now because you have nowhere to go?
They always done that. That's not new. They've always done that.
So what do you do? Like that's my point.
You
That's
gotta
my
build
point.
up power over. You gotta build up power over time, and like the closest that we've had to that in my lifetime has been Bernie Sanders, and then even in that case, because you know there is a consolidation, because it was either you know Hillary Clinton or Trump or Joe Biden or Trump. There was a necessary consolidation because that's what our politics is structured to do. You know, it pits. And that those myopic politics, those terrible political system that we have in this country, forces that situation because it encourages the Democrats to be as awful as they want to be, because there's no downside for them. They're the ones with the most money, the most power, the most influence, and the ability to whip the most votes. They have the strongest infrastructure to maintain the system. They're the establishment. So at some point, you have to realize that that there is a the Democratic side of this thing, or is one battlefield in the grand theater, or what the broader war of the class war, right? And like you cannot completely foreclose on these fronts. You can't just let them go. It's not like you're buddy with these people or whatever. You're trying to get power, and you're trying to build power in those positions, and that's the way I sort of see it.
I get that.
It's not a moral question, because I mean, if there was morality into it, part of that calculus would have to be, what are you actually doing? You know, because if you don't have the ability to wield power, then you're literally just doing it for yourself. If you're just doing something that is, you know, virtuous as an individual, but you're making absolutely zero change, you're a tree falling in the woods, and that doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
No, I completely, I understand what you're saying. It just puts.
It's a real messed up position, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the opposite side of that is you've got Barack Obama, you know, Barack Obama telling black men again to pull their pants up.
Yeah.
And you're the reason why if Harris loses, you're the reason why. And it's like, that's insane. Like, you don't talk like that about white people. You don't talk like that about any other group except for the most marginalized people that I have to fall in line, and I have to be the vanguard when you're offering me materially nothing. You're offering me less than nothing. You're murdering people with my treasure. You're spilling blood with my treasure.
And not only that, they're treating you like scum. They're treating
Yeah,
you like vermin while they're rolling out the red carpet for Dick Cheney and
absolutely.
for John Bolton and for, all of these like literal demons from hell, the worst people that should be tried on war crimes in The Hague and
Right.
spend the rest of their years in a prison cell in shackles. Yeah, I mean, like I have no regard for the Democrats,
I hear you.
to be clear, but like if there is going to be any kind of engagement in the political system that is, I mean, obviously it's not. It is a bourgeois political system that represents the ruling class, no question. But like if there's going to be any effectuation of that, it is going to have to be disciplined and it's going to have to be conscious. And there's necessarily going to be like concessions and L's that take place, and like the question, and again, the question of the genocide is not is not on the ballot. And
Right.
like I'm not, and I've said this to you several times on this show either. I'm not gonna go running around Michigan and tell. We had a young guy on the show not long ago.
Mhm.
His mom was kidnapped by Israel and beaten and imprisoned and held without any kind of. I'm not going to tell him to go vote for the Democrats. Are you kidding me? Are you crazy? Like, why would I do that?
Right.
Like, I'm not. I'm trying to build up. I'm trying to build up relationships and build up power with people. I'm not trying to alienate people and talk about like, oh, you know what? She would have extra double got beaten if Trump had won. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I
Did
just
I
feel
kinda answer
like
your question?
it yeah, it did. It did. It's
Mhm.
just a tough pill to swallow. And
It is, yeah.
I
And and
feel like the
and again,
people go ahead.
and the Democrats, like, know this. They know that
Mhm.
they have all the leverage here, and that's why they can go around and they can treat the activist wing like trash, because if
Mhm.
they go running away, and try and do their own thing in the system that we have, that's no sweat off their back. They don't give a damn.
Yeah. I mean,
Anyway,
their internals must be real good, like right now
well
for the presidential election
well,
to be
what
still running this game. I don't know.
so again, if Harris loses, let's just say Harris loses and we get Trump too. What do
Mhm.
you think the first email from Jamie Harrison and
Oh
Nancy
yeah, they
Pelosi?
want my $20.
Yeah. That's just like
Yeah.
that is a huge fundraising dub for them. So like again, like I mean I think that they do want to win. I think that if they wouldn't have changed candidates right in the middle of the election if they didn't want to win. But the thing is that they're only willing to go so far,
Right.
and you know changing an old like agent of empire for a younger, hipper, coconut tree agent of empire, that's no problem. They're not giving up the empire.
Mhm. Let me ask you another non-rhetorical question.
Yeah.
So why isn't so now the rumor I'm hearing is because we're doing the whole Israel's doing genocide, they're intentionally starving people, but we're going to give them a month, and then that puts us outside the election before we even we might have a him ha conversation about not shipping them any more arms. Why isn't it okay? So I'm Kamala Harris. If I don't, I'm not going to get another bite at the apple. If I don't win the presidency, that means my
This is our
either
chance.
I'm going to be president or my career is going to be over, and I'm going to go be a lobbyist somewhere. Why isn't she burning down the house? Just being like, because I'm hearing that like the Biden campaign, I'm reading the Biden campaign and the not the campaign, but the Biden staff and the Kamala campaign are beefing with each other. Why isn't she just like putting all America's sins onto this decrepit old man and pushing him out in the woods and saying, look, Joe Biden is doing this. When I'm president, we're going to do that. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
I think
Country over party and all that.
I can only speculate on that because I don't know. But
Yeah.
like there's at least I can think of two things. One, and this is sort of like sort of specific, which is that Harris's campaign is essentially just like put a sticker over the Biden campaign, and it's got a lot of the same people like running the show.
Right.
And there's this sort of like really weird fear that like breaking from the Biden campaign will make things worse or make their make their chances to win less. But of course they would think that because they're Biden people, right? That's one. Two, secondly, is that Democrats have always sort of like viewed themselves as the party of like maintaining order and like making sure that everybody's calming down. So like even if you remember in
Ah.
2020, like the entire message of the Biden campaign, and this is a Democrat thing, is that he would have managed the pandemic better. He wouldn't have given anything more. He's, basically nothing is going to fundamentally change, Jack. But like he would have managed the crisis more, like he would have listened to the experts and he would have like followed more of the like guidelines, and he wouldn't have made like shot his mouth off like Trump did like the entire
Mhm.
time. It would have been it would have, the same number of people could have died, but it would have been handled in a much more professional manner. And it's
Mhm.
optics. It's like liberal optics. And I think that is something that's extremely important to the Democratic Party.
No, I mean, that does make sense. I don't know. I would just like to think that people, even at their my cynical view is just like you've got to be you've got to be a sociopath to get to this point. So it's like, why
Yeah,
aren't you, when you're at the point, why aren't you just being a sociopath? But
yeah,
there is something there, because even Trump, like there's a lot to what you're saying, because even Trump, who was supposed to be the madman of all madmen,
hmm,
ended up just being another neocon.
uh-huh,
He didn't do anything relevant. All he did was he puffed his chest about how bad everybody who's not a white man is, and then really didn't do much.
I mean, he definitely like,
He might have wanted to, but I'm not justifying. I'm just saying at the end of the day, he served capital.
yes,
He served the people who were always who left or right, Democrat or Republican. You always serve when you get to that power, And we've both heard the joke of just like, oh, the first thing they do after you get inaugurated is they take you in the basement and you watch the Zapruder film
yeah,
and
from a
say,
different angle that no
"Well,
one's ever seen before.
exactly." So it's like,
Uh,
yeah, maybe there's something like
um,
that going on.
I
I don't know.
I think that, and I do think you might be understanding a little bit about how bad Trump was, like not by that much, but like I like he was definitely aggressive on like the NLRB and like um and immigration. Obviously, Democrats just decided to like snap up that exact same strategy. But like the thing that I do think is
What
generally,
I'm saying before you move on, I just wanted to clarify.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think he didn't do anything that I think that any other neoliberal
sure,
wouldn't do. It's just that he framed it in a way of just like, I'm so crazy, instead
yeah.
of using liberal language.
Yeah, no, he was a lot, and the thing that, and I know that part you're 100% right, but the language that he uses animates the,
Mhm.
animates the
Yeah, yeah.
Nazi types, and it animates the like October 7th. I mean, sorry, not January 6th types, and like all these maniacs. Like, I don't think they're at a critical threat point right now. I don't think we're there yet. But
Mhm.
like the fact that like if you squint your eyes and look at the October, I mean January 6th in the beer hall putsch, you're like, you know what? That's kind of a little bit the same.
No, it is. It's really bad. But at the end of the day, I guess, yeah,
Of
you
course,
know
and
what
of
I'm
course,
trying to say.
liberals
He
and of,
didn't
mhm,
the what we were told, and I'm not saying it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It
yeah,
materially it doesn't matter. But we got to stop Trump. We got to stop Trump, because at the end of the day, he didn't tell people, "Hey, go to the Capitol building and try to overthrow the US government." He didn't say that, but he didn't stop it either.
yeah,
That's what I'm getting at. To where the thing that we have been told to be afraid about, even when we got the craziest, scariest man, which I'm that's not facetious when I'm saying that.
yeah,
At the end of the day, he ended up being another liberal.
yeah,
He ended up being another one just that's going to uphold, Western hegemony.
yeah,
And that's bad in itself. So I'm saying
right,
is, because what do we always talk about? I'm not worried about Trump. I'm worried about a smart Trump. I'm
yeah.
worried about a Trump that can speak like he's an extra like he has a guest appearance on the West Wing.
Mm.
That is the terrifying guy.
Which I mean, I want to be like a little bit inflammatory and be like, that's just Obama. You know what I mean?
That's just Obama. No, that's just Obama. That's just Biden. When Biden wasn't senile. No, 100%. You're right about that. I mean, that's not even a joke.
Yeah.
You know, he can, for a guy who can sit up there as Obama did and say, "Yeah, we tortured some folks."
Tortured some folks. Oh my god.
What? Okay. Like that's crazy.
And again, I can't even think, you know, if this genocide in Palestine was happening under Obama, like if you know somehow the libs got what they've been, you know, wet dreaming about for many years and getting the mystical Obama third term or whatever, and like if he had been managing this, I can't imagine would be doing a much different job.
No, we wouldn't be doing anything different. No, we got an Obama third term. It was Joe Biden. So great.
Really quickly, I did want to push to something a little bit more positive, quite a bit more positive, actually. Yeah. So, have you paid attention at all to the University Medical Center nurses? And
I know it's happening. I don't know the ins and outs. That's why I have you for.
Yeah. So just tell me what you know.
I know they're on strike.
Well,
I know it's not like emergency services. It's like they're having to move around, and it's because of patient care is lacking, and then it's not emergency services. They're having to move around like electives.
Yeah, so this is a press release from the National Nurses Organizing Committee, from National Nurses United, at UMC, University Medical Center. This is dated yesterday, the 14th. I'm sorry, 2 days ago, the 14th. So that's Monday. Nurses at University Medical Center give 10-day notice to strike after management failed to address patient safety concerns. Nurses say one-day strike is scheduled for October 25th. Here's the press release. Nurses at University Medical Center in New Orleans, Louisiana, have given the hospital notice that they intend to hold a one-day strike on October 25th after management failed to address patient safety concerns during contract negotiations. Now, you know what's crazy about that? They're negotiating. They won their union already, right?
Mm-hmm.
What the nurses, the workers are fighting for in this contract is patient safety, and the management of the hospital is arguing against that. Isn't that crazy? You have the people who have to deal with these patients, who have to work with these patients and make sure that stay alive. Wouldn't you think they would care about patient safety? Of course they do, and they do. And then you have the management side of things, which is, you know, the bosses, the HRs and all the other stuff. And they're just like, no, we don't need that. We don't need we don't need patient safety measures. I can continue. The notice comes after nurses voted by an overwhelming majority this past weekend to authorize the strike. Since bargaining began in March for a first contract, UMC management has delayed negotiations, including postponing bargaining sessions and refusing to make meaningful responses to nurses' proposals on key issues such as workplace violence and safe staffing. So they're literally looking for safety for themselves and their patients. Like, that's not unreasonable at all.
That's crazy.
There's
crazy. Yeah, go ahead.
In the time, is it Times Picayune? Is it NOLA? Is it the Advocate now? I don't even know. University Medical Center nurses to strike October 25th. Now CMC officials pledge uninterrupted care. This is dated Monday as well, by Emily Woodruff. Nurses at University Medical Center New Orleans announced Monday that they will strike on October 25th amid ongoing negotiations with LCMC Health. Nurses voted to unionize last December, but no agreement has been reached for a contract. Roughly 600 nurses at the downtown hospital are represented by National Nurses United, the largest union for U.S. nurses. Now, first off, I think it's really important to to pause and just think about how historic this is for for them just to win their union, which they did in December. This is like one of the first nurses unions at a hospital in the entire state, possibly ever. I could be wrong on that. We have to get our due diligence on that specifically. But then also we have them going on strike. UMC executives said they contracted with several nurses several months ago as a precautionary measure so they would be uninterrupted. So care would be uninterrupted in the event. So they basically have, I mean, I guess it's scabs, but I mean, the care does have to continue. I mean, like it is important that the care continues. I don't want to I don't know the union's line on that. So I would really be interested in what the union sort of like people would have to say about that. UMC will be open and running as normal, said John Nickens, the hospital CEO. Although the union has called for a one-day strike, contract nurses have been hired to work for 3 days. Nickens said this means that the hospital will be without most of its regular nursing staff through October 27th. They're going to find out during that period of time, like just how like vital and important these nurses are.
Bro, because those travel nurses are not cheap, dude.
Yeah, it's going to cost them a pretty penny too.
And
I mean, you got to make sure that you got to pay your people and you got to give them what they need to do their job. Like they're not asking again, like I said it before, and I can't stress it enough, like how reasonable, they're being. You're arguing for patient safety. Staffing and safety. The nurses say they are striking over delayed negotiations and a lack of meaningful responses to proposals on issues such as workplace violence and safe staffing levels. Haley Dupree, a registered nurse at the endoscopy unit, said that the union is, quote, repeatedly put forward proposals but called UMC's lack of movement belittling and berating. Nickens said that the union representative he met with said staffing was not a problem. Quote, God, their leader said staffing is adequate, and they have made no effort to submit a proposal within the negotiations. They literally just said that they did several times. Nickens also said that the hospital has tightened security and is installing a weapons detection system at every entrance. Despite the increased safety concerns, there have been at least 3 instances of weapons being brought into patient areas at UMC this year. Oh, my God.
University's crazy. You didn't know?
I mean,
it's crazy, bro.
That's it. Anything goes downtown. Union members hope the strike will lead to a comprehensive workplace violence prevention program for all units, legal protections against retaliation for reporting unsafe conditions, and proposals that would improve recruitment and retention. So, yeah, they want their staffing to be at appropriate levels. Obviously, like this is constantly the thing. Management wants to do lean staffing. So because it saves them money. Obviously, solidarity with the workers, solidarity with the nurses. We're with them 100% all the way. We are running out of time.
We are.
Robert, let's go to the big finish. What you got?
I was just going to state that you really can't do just-in-time healthcare.
No,
it's not. Yeah, this isn't a Toyota plant. So that doesn't fly. And
don't work for Toyota either.
UMC is going to spend more money than they could have just to take care of the patients and also the nurses than on travel nurses. So good luck with that. I don't want to say lose. I was about to say they're going to lose this, but only people losing currently are the patients because their needs aren't being taken care of, and it's not because of the strike. It's because of the conditions that exist that the nurses are striking against.
And again, this is always the case. A lot of times, management and media in this capitalist system always want to point to one side when there is no labor peace, and it's always they want to point to the workers who are the ones that are the ones that are doing the work and never at themselves. So we'll just sort of leave it at that point. Robert, anything you want to say in the last 10 seconds?
No, it's been great.
Yeah, always good. We'll be back next week with a very special Good Morning Comrade. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We love you. Bye-bye.